What's up, you guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Vito Bratta. He's the guitarist for a band called White Lion, and he's actually not playing anymore. He's been retired for a number of years. But I really had a lot of fun doing this video because I used to listen to his band just all the time when I was a kid. It was one of my favorite bands when I was listening to a bunch of 80s glam metal, I guess you could say. Now, if you know about Vito, you probably know that he has a very heavy Eddie Van Halen influence. But even though he employs a lot of the same techniques Eddie likes to use, he does have his very own voice, a very melodic, very composed voice. You can tell this just by listening to pretty much any of his solos. They're all very singable, they're all very composed, and they have just tons of different melodic motifs. And this is something he believed very deeply, that a guitar solo should be very composed, it should be singable. If you can actually find an interview that he did way back when, and he's actually saying something to the tune of, if you can't sing a solo, then it's not even worth playing. Now, to the actual lesson, as with most of these lessons, I'm going to divide it into two different parts. I'm going to go into some different scales and musical concepts, and then I'm going to talk about the actual phrasing and different guitar techniques that he's employing, that he's playing. All right, so in terms of scales, he likes the major scale and some of the modes within the major scale, especially the Ionian mode, or the actual major scale mode, and the sixth mode, which is Aeolian, which is the minor scale. The other scale that you can find here and there, especially in some live clips that you can again find on YouTube, is the harmonic minor scale, but it's something that you can't really hear that much in most of his solos. Now, that being said, it's important to know that he wasn't just going up and down the scale. So the first concept I'm gonna talk about is actually the use of chord tones. If you want to learn more about chord tones, you can check this video right here, where I go a little bit more in depth in the topic of chord tones. But just to give you a quick review, chord tones are just the notes within the chords. And I'm going to mention that side by side with another concept that he likes to do, which is melodic motifs. So this is something that went hand in hand in his playing style. So if you're trying to replicate some of the stuff that he used to do, you have to use those two different things together. You have to think about the different chord tones within the actual chords happening in the chord progressions of the songs, and you have to use different motifs. A motif is like a melodic phrase that is repeatable, and what he'll do is he'll adapt it to each of the different chords that are happening. Most of his solos are actually a bunch of different melodic motifs joined together. So, for example, at the beginning solo, the beginning performance of the video, I did something that went like this. Now, the chords at the beginning are, you have A major, you have G major, I kept the A in the bass, then you have D major, Now, I'm going to talk specifically about one motif that I employed, and it's this one right here. I go. So what I do is I go into the A major triad and do this movement. Then I move down to the G major triad and I do the same thing. And then I go to the D chord and I play the seventh, the root, the second, and the third. I move into the A minor scale. And that's part of the solo. So that's another different motif right there. So right there, you have three different motifs. We have the first one, which is repeated. And then I go to the second one, which already sounds like something that I can use as a transitional thing between the first motif and the third one, because even though it's a different motif, it's very much like the first one. and then I go into the A minor scale. And then I go into a different motif. And again, you can clearly see the use of different motifs running along the different chords. Now, in terms of the actual guitar techniques and phrasing, you could say the first technique and probably the most obvious one is tapping. And he just goes crazy with tapping just about everywhere. You could probably listen to a little bit of tapping in just about each of the different solos he has. And I divided the actual tapping technique into different ways of applying tapping. The first one I want to talk about is the more spacey, very open type of sounding tapping, which is something that's very common, and it's this one right here. Now again, I'm just playing, I'm using chord tones. I'm employing the tapping technique over chord tones, and I'm creating different melodic motifs. So when I'm doing this very open, spacey sounding tapping, I'm actually just playing the notes within those chords. So let me explain this really quick. I'm going A, B, and E. So I'm doing 1, 2, 5 in terms of intervallic construction. And it's that very open sounding tapping that you hear a lot of different players using. Then I go, so the first motif is this one. Then move over to the G, and I apply the same type of motif. So I'm going 1, 2, 5 in terms of the G chord. But for that one, I up the intensity a little bit. So I go. Then when I move down to the D, I play the A major pentatonic scale. And what I do is, which is a different type of tapping that he does. So I actually got this rhythmic motif out of the song Wait, this rhythmic melodic motif, employing tapping out of the solo of Wait. So he goes. So it's not really the same notes as that solo, but it has the same type of motif going on. Now the next type of tapping I want to talk about is something that you can find actually Zach Wild doing a bit. And it's where you go play a note with your left hand, and then with your right hand you're gonna tap the same type, the same note, but up an octave. So, and I actually went over this technique on my Zach Wild video, which you can find up here. And all you do is play a note, tap the octave, and then you're gonna bend with your left hand, which is gonna shift the pitch that you're hitting, that you're tapping. And then you can return to the note. Zach Wild actually does this as a way of getting around the fact that he doesn't have a whammy bar on his Gibson. But Vito actually employs it more as a melodic tool. So there you have your octave tapping with some bends in it. And that bending technique is something that the Vito actually likes to employ a lot, and you can listen to it in a couple of different videos. Again, especially in the solo of Wait, which is the type of backing track that I decided to do for this video, because it's one of the most iconic solos he has. So again, I do that, and then I slide over to the G, which is the next chord. And I tap here, and I bend again. And I go up to the F sharp. And then when I go here, I'm actually at the A minor scale. It's a very kind of complex type of tapping part. But he actually enjoyed doing this type of thing a lot. So again, he's taking that tapping from Van Halen, and he's just going crazy with it, creating different melodies that are very, very singable with this type of technique. Now there's another type of tapping that I couldn't get into the solo. I actually had it, but I ended up changing it for another technique that he likes to employ. And this type of tapping is called pedal point tapping. So all you do is you hit the same note with your right hand while you're changing notes with your left hand. So in this example, I'm just gonna play the A minor scale. I'm just gonna go down the scale in thirds with my left hand, while my right hand just keeps on tapping the same note, and it goes something like this. So just as a quick recap, we have a whole bunch of different alternatives in terms of tapping. We have that spacey type tapping that we've all heard from different guys like Randy Rhoads, like to Eddie Van Halen, and just a whole bunch of other guys. We have those octave bends, which we have heard also Zakk Wylde using. We have slides in between tapping. We have bends, and we also have that pedal point type of tapping. So it's a whole bunch of different alternatives, and you can just go crazy. You can go crazy just being creative with your tapping, and that's exactly what Vito liked to do. He got very creative with the use of tapping. Now on to some other techniques. He actually liked doing pull-offs, and this is something that I'm gonna explain right here. And then I also did at the beginning of the video, just going up the minor scale using pull-offs and hammer-ons. And that's a very simple thing that you can do. Just go up or down the scale using hammer-ons and pull-ups. Now another cool thing he likes to do is half-step bends. Now the way I employed this at the beginning of the video was at this section of the solo where I go. And you can actually do that just going down the whole scale in wherever you can find a half step. And a quick example of that would be something like this. And now the final technique I want to mention is something that you can hear it's directly passed on from Eddie, and it's tremolo picking. And this is the way I actually decided to finish my solo. And then the solo actually go like this. And that's something that you can hear Vito playing around here and there. And it's definitely something you can find Eddie Van Halen just playing a bunch just in different solos. And it's great for doing what I did for finishing a solo, because you can go up, you can build up whatever you're playing and finish with a great release at a bend and a vibrato. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thanks you guys for watching. I hope you learned a couple of cool things, especially that tapping stuff, which is just crazy, and it was really fun learning off of Vito. So remember to hit the subscribe button, remember to hit the alert button. That way you get a notification each and every time that I upload a new video. Remember to hit the like button, remember to comment below if you have any suggestions for future videos. If you have any questions about this or any other video, again, you can comment below. And now if you want to follow me on any type of social media, you can find me on Instagram, where I post just about every other day. I also post pretty much every single day about behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing at work, if I'm working on any projects. Again, on my Instagram, but on my Instagram stories, where I'm just posting constantly. You can also follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, and you can follow me on my official website, juanantoniomusic.com. Alright, thanks for watching.